Good evening. I'm Lisa Ryan, co-owner of Microknowledge Inc., a technology training firm. Microknowledge provides clients with technology training in business productivity tools such as, but not limited to, Microsoft Office, Adobe, SharePoint, SQL, Crystal, you name it, we do it, and other popular software. My project today is titled Using Pivot Tables in Excel 2016. This is an e-learning module giving a high-level overview of how to create a single dimension and a multi-dimensional pivot table. The module is intended as a value add for my clients, either those who need a review in pivot tables or those who may have been exposed to Excel but not the pivot table features of Excel, and they probably need them. The rest of this video will highlight some key components of the e-learning module. Here's the abstract for the e-learning module. And the abstract is just supposed to give you an idea of the flair for the module, what's going to happen. And we do talk about Lisa in this, so we're going to bring up Lisa in just a moment as well. Here is the introduction slide. The introduction is where the learners are first introduced to Lisa. Now, Lisa is in essence me in a digital form. So these clients would have already had a training session with me, and now they see me, hear me on the screen as well. There's accessibility built throughout the module. There are two forms of accessibility. One, you can see the play bar at the bottom of the screen. And then two, the opportunity for folks to have various ways to navigate through the e-learning module, whether it be with buttons, whether it be with keyboard shortcuts, and in addition, the play bar at the bottom of the screen. So in this particular slide, you'll see that I have closed captioning on, and all of the slides are actually closed captioned that need to be. And you can move back and forth through the module at your leisure. So in this particular case, I also wanted to invoke flexibility. The learner chooses the path. The learner has the opportunity to decide where they want to go and how they want to get there. So when there's a continue button, they'll have the opportunity to choose that. They have the option of going back and forth. They can look at closed captioning or not. And then we have Lisa again. So Lisa is giving some encouragement, and Lisa is helping folks through this option. Now in this case, we're only looking at objectives, but in this particular case, Lisa's holding a cup of coffee, and that's important. In my training courses, I really like to make folks feel comfortable. So it wouldn't be surprising for you to see me in the front of the room with a cup of coffee in hand. So once again, this is going to give folks the essence of knowing that I'm there with them to help them feel a little more comfortable, to empower them to learn. As we go through the module, there are a series of questions through each section. Actually, 2 questions through the 2 sections that we have, the layout and then creation of a pivot table, and then a quiz at the end. This is an example of a question. In this particular case, folks are invited to click on, in this case, the option that represents a proper list. Now, each one of these items has some feedback. So they could have the opportunity to pick, let's say they chose D, and once they chose D, they're going to get some feedback as to why that isn't an option. And if it wasn't, and they wanted to try again, they just click the try again, and they're able to go through the option. So technically, someone could go through each and every one of these as a review. Now, Lisa has said that as they kind of answered the question. You also see the ability to move to try an example or to go back and review what prompted this question being asked. Throughout this item, throughout the module, there are a series of selections that stand out. Now, the selections are highlighted in red, and in this particular case, this is one of many where the cursor is moved to different areas of the screen for the learner. And then once again, when they get to an area where it needs to be, this is after building a pivot table by folks clicking on certain areas, they have the opportunity to review the creation of a pivot table or continue. And that's Lisa offering some encouragement toward the end of that particular section. So now we're doing some examples. So for example, we're going to build a pivot table. We're going to walk through the example. So in this case, this came over several options where Lisa said, here's supplier totals by supplier country. And now there's encouragement to click Insert. And then click the pivot table. And then click the OK button. And then go ahead and pick the fields that are necessary, in this case, supplier name and supplier country, and then the quantity, and then the opportunity to see the pivot table being built. And once they click Continue, they'll get some encouragement and some feedback on what was done. Throughout the module, there is continued flexibility. So in this case, they could review the previous example, or they get the opportunity to continue to a quiz. The quiz has a series of questions, 7 to be exact, and the user, the learner, can choose whatever answer they want. And at the end, they get the feedback from the quiz. Now, in this case, I purposely answered something wrong so that you would see that I have an 80% accuracy. The questions were worth 20 points or 10 points in some cases, 20 points in others. And I have 2 choices here. I can continue, or I can review the quiz. So had I chosen to review the quiz, I could potentially go through slide by slide to see what I actually got right and what I possibly got wrong and what the right answers were. This is the final slide of the presentation. This is the slide that allows folks to go back through single dimension pivot tables, multi-dimension pivot tables, and then a final goodbye that would close the initial slide. With that in mind, all of these options empowered the user, modeled digital work for learning, engaged in professional growth, promoted digital responsibility and citizenship by having accessibility and the closed captioning in there and things like that. Something I think that all our learners will appreciate, will gain knowledge from. I used a variety of principles. I used the segmenting principle. I used a principle of personalization with Lisa, the avatar, and something I hope that my clients enjoy. Thank you for taking the time out of your evening, and I hope that you enjoyed the presentation, and I also hope that you had the opportunity to view the full final product from the website link. Thank you for your time.